Hello friends and family. So now let's have a look at part 3 of the speaking paper. Okay, this is where we are. We finished part 1, finished part 2, now we're doing part 3. This is a collaborative task. You are talking with your partner about a topic with prompts. Prompts are questions. Okay, so let's continue. Some quick questions. How long is this part 3? It is 2 to 3 minutes. Each student talks for about 1 minute. Okay, so if you are 2 students, still 1 minute. Okay, now, do you speak individually? No, it is done with 1 or 2 more candidates. So it's you and another candidate, or it's you and 2 more candidates. How many topics are there? There is 1 topic. For example, technology, the environment could be one as well. Okay, how many discussion points are there? There are 5 discussion points to help you talk about this task. So this is one example of the task you will see of part 3. Now you can see in the middle you have the topic. Why would these ideas attract more tourists to the town? So this is about tourism. Okay, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 discussion topics here to help you and your partner talk about this topic. Okay, you have to use these discussion points given to you. Now note, candidates can choose which prompts, this is a prompt question, which questions to discuss, and are not expected to discuss all 5 prompts. You do not have to, you and your candidate, you do not have to talk and use all 5, but you have to use some of them at least. Okay, you do not stop the discussion until the examiner tells you, okay, thank you very much. They stop you. You do not stop until they ask you to stop. Okay, so the topic again is about tourism. And the discussion points: building holiday flats. What would attract more tourists? Building holiday flats, providing parks, having more shops, putting up security cameras, or building a large nightclub. Use all of them to help you discuss this point. Okay, so tips and strategies. This is the basic format you should follow when you speak, because you are going to speak, and the other person is going to speak, then it's going to be you, then it's going to be like a game. It's a conversation. Remember, it's a conversation. So when you speak, you should give your opinion. Furthermore, you should give your reason for the opinion you gave, a supporting reason. So opinion, your reason. Okay. So normally the transition is with because. Okay. I think security cameras are beneficial because, and then you give your reason. And then when you've given your reason, so after the reason, you ask the other candidate what they think. You invite them back into the discussion. Okay, so it is opinion, reason, and then do you agree with me? Or what do you think? You invite them back. You ask the other candidate a question. Okay, so the discussion has to include, so the discussion overall, okay, has to include interaction, continuous interaction. There shouldn't be pauses. You don't take your time to think about what you're going to say, because the other candidate will ask you, and what do you think, Maria? Then you have to speak. You can't just wait there and think about what you want to say. That is why it's very important to listen to the other candidate. So continuous sustainable interaction between you and the other candidate. You have to be able to exchange ideas. The best way to exchange ideas is, again, to listen to what the other candidate is saying, expressing and justifying your opinions. So this is part 2. When you give your opinion, you justify it with a reason. My opinion is blah, because, and then you justify. You agree or disagree. There is nothing wrong with saying, if they ask you, what do you think, Maria? And then no, I'm Maria. Well, I don't really agree with your point there, because etc. 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 So, what do you think, Javier, for example? You should suggest, speculate, and evaluate as well, and reaching a decision through negotiation. So you are discussing the topic with the other candidate. You should try to reach some kind of decision together. So it doesn't matter. It's not important if you don't. Okay, because remember, there is a main question: which of these 5 different topics uh, would most attract tourism to your town? That is the question. So you have to try to decide which one it will be. But if you don't, it's not important. You are not penalized. It doesn't matter. The important thing is to interact, exchange ideas, give your opinions with reasons, and maintain a sustainable conversation or interaction. Okay, so here are some more tips and strategies. These phrases, okay? So for example, I told you before, silence is not good. Don't be quiet. But I understand that sometimes you need time to think. So in order to help you get that time to think, you can use some of these phrases. You can learn them by heart. So imagine that person asks you, so what do you think, Maria? So you don't know. So, well, I've never really thought about that, but so there you're creating time to think. You're using this phrase. Well, what a good question. You're creating time. This doesn't add any value to the discussion. Okay, but it gives you time to think. So, to more of them. So that's a good question. Okay, that's an interesting question. Oh, let me think. Well, let me think. Well, and then you give your answer. It's not let me think. No, no. You use the words while you're saying that you're thinking about what you want to say. So don't stop. No silence. All righty. So how about giving your opinion? Here are some more phrases about giving your opinion. So now, what I think is that um, installing security cameras would really improve, etc., 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 because, etc., etc., etc. What do you think, Andres, for example? Okay, giving your opinion, carry on. In my opinion, I believe that, or it's clear to me that security cameras would be the best option because, etc., etc., etc. Or one thing I'm sure of is that security cameras would be the best option because, or hey, I might be wrong, but I think security cameras might, etc., etc. I'm no expert, but etc., etc., etc. All right, how about trying to change an opinion? Okay, so the other person gives their opinion, and you want to change that opinion. So you can say, that's an interesting point, Javier, but don't you think that building a new mall would be a more interesting aspect? Or, yes, but isn't it true that building a mall would be a better option? Because, etc., etc. Okay, and here's one opinion, and they invite you in. Okay, but on the other hand, building a mall would most likely increase the amount of income into the city. Or opinion, maybe there's another way to think about it, Javier. How about building a mall? Because, etc., etc., etc. Or opinion, well, Javier, you're partly right, but I do still think that building a mall, etc., etc., because, etc., etc. Okay, giving reasons for your answer, because. Okay, well, you know that. We've just used it a lot of times. Okay, building a mall is a great option because, etc., etc., etc. You have a few more, so it's obvious that etc. Or that means, etc., etc., etc. Okay, adding reasons. Another thing is, apart from that, or great point, Javier, as well as that, etc., etc., etc. Or great point, Javier, just as importantly, etc., etc. Okay, there's also the fact that, and great point, Javier, and don't forget that building a mall would also increase will also benefit the local economy. Okay, so great. So you've given your opinion, you've given your reason, okay, and now you have to remember, remember to ask your partner back into the conversation. Ask them a question. So, like, here's Jack. Yeah, what do you think, Jack? Do you agree, Jack? Do you have anything to say about that, Jack? And Jack, do you have anything to add to that? Or Jack, did I perhaps forget anything? These are ways to get your partner back into the conversation. Okay, so it's important for you to do so, because remember, the other candidate is also nervous. I mean, you're nervous, the other candidate's nervous. Help each other. You have to help each other. If the other candidate does better, maybe you'll do better too. But imagine that the other candidate is so nervous, and you don't ask Jack in this case. Okay, so you give your opinion and reason, and then Jack is there, all nervous. So silence. This doesn't benefit Jack, and it doesn't benefit you. It benefits no one. So help each other with asking these questions. Invite them back. Now, on the other hand, maybe the other candidate is very nervous. Okay, and instead of silence, they do the exact opposite, and they just speak and speak and speak and speak and speak, and they don't give you an opportunity to speak because they're speaking and they're nervous and they're speaking. So this doesn't benefit him, Jack in this case, and it doesn't benefit you either. Okay, so now imagine that Jack doesn't give you an opportunity to speak. If you don't try to interrupt, if you don't make an effort, you lose the opportunity. Okay, and you might not pass, not because Jack is speaking too much, but because you didn't try. So you have to try. How can you do that? How can you interrupt someone? Okay, so Jack is there, blah, 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 blah. Hey, Jack, do you mind if I add something? You go straight. Fantastic point, Jack. Do you mind if I add something? Or Jack is blah, 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 blah. Jack, interesting, very, very interesting. I'd like to comment on that, if you don't mind. Okay, or blah, 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 blah. Hey, Jack, excuse me, if I could just make a point about what you just said. You have to show your intent, okay, to have a discussion. All righty then. So usually, do you mind if I can add something, etc., etc.? Okay, so now I'm going to go back here quickly. I want you to look at this. So remember, you have to give your opinion, a supporting reason, and you have to invite me, the other candidate in this case, back into the conversation. Okay, so now, do you want to take a moment, try to do that? So the question is, why would these ideas attract more tourists to the town? You have to use one of these 5 to give your opinion, a supporting reason, and invite me back in. You want to give it a quick go? I'll give you 10 seconds. Okay, so let's look at an example I have already. Okay, so this is my answer. Okay, very good. So here, this is the same one. So my answer is, I think that building more shops would attract more tourists to the town, because not only will it allow holiday makers to splash out, ka-ching, ka-ching, even more, but also boost the local tourism industry. What do you think, Javier? Okay, so there is your opinion. My opinion is building more shops. Where is it? Having more shops. Okay, having more shops. I think that building more shops, having more shops would attract more tourists. There's the question. Because, so opinion, and now we are at because, so this is my reason. Not only will it allow holidaymakers to splash out is to spend money, okay, leisurely, even more, but also boost the local tourism industry. Okay, so I've got two reasons there. And then, after my reason, what do you think, Javier? I invite Javier back in to the discussion. Okay, so now let's carry on. Okay, what I would like you to do is I want you to use putting up security cameras. I want you to give your opinion and your reason. Invite me back in. Use putting up security cameras for this topic. Okay, so take a few seconds, take 10 seconds to think about why it would be a good idea putting up security cameras to attract to attract more tourists to town. 10 seconds. Think about it. Okay, so I just asked you to use putting up security cameras, okay, as your opinion and a reason. The reason you have to invent, you have to create one. The opinion is there, okay, so you only have to think about a reason. So let's look. Okay, so you've created your answer, so let's look at my answer. Okay, so I believe that putting up security cameras will make tourists feel much more at ease as they will be able to stroll freely among the streets at nighttime. Okay, so my opinion, putting up security cameras is a good thing because instead of because I used as is another way of saying because, giving the reason for something. And now my reason, they will be able to stroll freely. Stroll is another way of saying to walk, to walk freely among the streets at nighttime. Do you agree with that, Peter? If the other person's name is Peter, then it's Peter. So you see what I did? I've got my opinion as, because, okay, and then I've got my reason, and I invite the other person back in. Okay, so now linking. This is a little bit more advanced, but you can do it. Okay, so let's imagine that you are Javier now. Okay, so you should try and answer Maria by linking to one of the other topics. Okay, so now Maria says, I'm Maria now. Okay, I'm Maria. I believe that putting up security cameras will make tourists feel much more at ease as they will be able to stroll freely along the streets at nighttime. Do you agree with me, Javier? So you are Javier now. Okay, so take a moment. Okay, and what I would like you to do here is listen. Very important. Don't hear me. Listen to what I'm saying. Okay, what I'm telling you. Listen to my opinion. Listen to my reasons. Because what would be great if you could link to in your answer to something she just said. That would clearly show that you listened. Okay, you don't get points for listening, but I mean that is exactly what makes a conversation flow, is that both parties are listening and contributing to that conversation. So I'm gonna speak to you. Please listen to me. I believe that putting up security cameras will make tourists feel much more at ease as they will be able to stroll freely along the streets at night time. Do you agree with that, Javier? Okay. Now, take 10 seconds, come up with your answer. Okay. So I imagine you have your answer. I'm going to show you mine now. Okay, that's a great point, Maria. And building a large nightclub might just be what tourists are looking for while they're out roaming the streets at night in search of some fun. What do you think, Maria? Okay, so look at what I linked here. Okay, so Maria said that putting up security cameras is a good idea, and she has a reason. Putting up security cameras, that's one of the 5 other supporting ideas you can use. Okay, so Maria also mentions that people will feel safer, at ease, they feel safer when they walk down the streets at night. So, nightclub. That's one of the 5, yeah? So I use that. That's a great point, Maria. So you agree. And building a large nightclub might just be what tourists are looking for while they're out roaming the streets at night. So Maria said stroll freely, and I say roam. Both all these are synonyms for just exploring and walking and wandering. Okay, so what I did is I linked to Maria's reason. Okay, and I used an opinion through linking, a relevant opinion. Okay, so as I said, putting up a security camera, this is safety. So, okay, that's a great one, Maria. Safety first. As well as that, building a large nightclub might just be what tourists are looking for. Okay, so building a large nightclub, that's one of the 5 points you can use. All right, and also, as I said before, walking along the streets at night, roaming the streets at night in search of some fun. What do you think? And I invite her back in. So this is a great way. This is a very good way to show that you're listening, that all the effort to maintain a sustainable discussion. Excuse me. Now, repeat the strategies. So you're going to do this once, okay? But remember, okay, so we looked at nightclub, cameras, okay, having more shops, providing parks, building holiday flats. You can use all 5 of them. You can. You don't have to, but you can. So now, okay, so you would, every time you speak, you would repeat the same strategy. Opinion, reason, invitation. Okay, or agree, disagree, opinion, reason, invitation. Okay, so now repeat the strategies throughout the speaking task until the examiner brings the task to an end, until they tell you, okay, thank you very much. The examiner will say, thank you very much. So you can stop now. Now the examiner will stop you and then give you a minute. Then you will be given a minute, both you and the other candidate, to make a decision related to the topic that you've been talking about. Both you and your partner will be asked to make a decision related to this topic. Okay, you will be given a minute. Which idea do you think will be best for the town? Okay, so then you have to reach an agreement. You and your partner, you are not expected to have to reach an agreement. If you can, great. If not, it's not a problem. Okay, you are being assessed on your ability to negotiate and to keep a conversation going. As long as you provide your reasons and your justifications, you are doing a good job. Not a good thing is, okay, so I think that building a nightclub is probably the best idea. What do you think, Javier? Yeah, it's a yeah, great point. Definitely agree with you. There's no reason, there's no justification. You have to give. I agree with you because it would attract a younger community to our city. That's maybe a reason or a justification, if you wish. Okay, so keep on negotiating and speaking. Maybe nightclub is the best idea. Well, I think you're partly right, but I do believe that building more flats would definitely create more competition in the accommodation industry. So don't you believe that that might increase the local economy and might be overall better in order to attract new tourists? So you disagreed, but you gave your reason and you justified it. So that's fine. Don't worry. You don't have to say yes and yes. It could be yes and no, as long as you provide reasons. Okay. So now let's have a look at this. So this is the same one we've been looking at. Let's listen to Javier, Maria, to their conversation. So building holiday flats, a sure way to attract more tourists, as increased competition in accommodation should reduce accommodation costs. Do you agree with that, Maria? So then, Maria, that's interesting. That's an interesting point, Javier. However, contrast. I think that having more shops around is better, as tourists love to splash out on holiday. Do you agree? Splash out is to spend money, yeah? Okay, so now Javier gave his reason here, and then Maria doesn't agree with that being the best way. Remember, because you have to find and reach an agreement the best way. So Maria disagrees and gives her reason. So let's look at Javier. I see what you're saying, Maria. Then again, having to pay less for accommodation. So accommodation is his argument. Having to pay less for accommodation would also allow tourists to spend more, splash out, on things such as souvenirs, eating out, or even sightseeing. Do you see what I mean, Maria? So I'm defending my original opinion, more accommodation. And what Maria said is that tourists like to splash out. So I'm saying if people pay less, then, or Javier is saying if people pay less, then they can splash out more. So this is a negotiation, okay? But you can only do this, you can only say what Javier said if you really listen to what Maria is saying. And because a lot of times students, they just wait for their opportunity to speak because it's a stressful situation. They wait and they're not really listening. Deep breath, listen. And if you listen, you will be able to bring up a counterpoint, like what Javier did right here. Okay, so this is another thing that could happen. And I talked to you about this before. Javier, listen, building holiday flats is a sure way to attract more tourists, as increased competition in accommodation should reduce accommodation costs. Do you agree with that, Maria? Remember, this is a negotiation. I agree with you, Javier. Silence, not good. So Maria doesn't know what to say. And remember, this is not good for either of you. Help Maria. Help Maria. Okay, so I agree with you. That's great, Maria. And do you think that having more shops might be a better idea? So help Maria by giving her an opinion. Because, yeah, building shops might be a great idea. Why, Maria? Because people love buying things on holidays. So that would be beautiful. The examiner will see what you did right there. And wow, they will love you for that. So help whenever you can help. Do not interrupt, but you can help. Okay? So very good. We are going to move on to the final part, which is part 4. Okay? See you there.